We had goldfish, and they circled around and around in the bowl on the table near the heavy drapes covering the picture window. And my mother, always smiling, wanting us all to be happy, told me, "Be happy, Henry." And she was right. It is better to be happy, if you can. But my father continued to beat her and me several times a week while raging inside his 6'2" frame because he couldn't understand what was attacking him from within. My mother, poor fish, wanting to be happy, beaten 2 or 3 times a week, telling me to be happy. "Henry, smile. Why don't you ever smile?" And then she would smile to show me how, and it was the saddest smile I ever saw. One day, the goldfish died, all 5 of them. They floated on the water, on their sides, their eyes still open. And when my father got home, he threw them to the cat, there on the kitchen floor, and we watched as my mother smiled.
Team abuse. This poem tells of how both Henry and his mother were heavily abused, and how his mother was ruined because of this. My mother, poor face, wanted to be happy, beaten 2 or 3 times a week, telling me to be happy. But my father continued to beat her and me several times a week. This shows us how his mother constantly abused. What it did to Henry? Just from reading the poem, we can go through what Henry felt.
The metaphor of the poem is goldfish. The goldfish represented the child's happiness, or at least served as a respite from the abusive life he led. When Henry was hurt, he would refer to the fish as poor. When the abuse went too far, the fish had died. Henry was still allowed to grieve their death until his father arrives and feeds them to the cat. Then it goes back to describing how his mother gave him another one of the saddest smile possible, explaining how his father had even taken away his opportunity to grieve for the loss of his fish.
The paradox of this poem can be referred at the quote, "My mother, wanting me to be happy, beaten 2 or 3 times a week. Henry, smile. Why don't you ever smile?" The meaning of this is, Henry is often asked by his mother to smile. The very notion of laughing undermines the brutality they suffer. It serves to reflect a greater sense of sorrow that his mother wants her son to be content even though they have been beaten many days a week, as well as a feeling of hopelessness. Even his mother turned a blind eye to what was going on with her son.
Connections to today's world. The one thing this poem reminds me of is a news story I had read yesterday morning of a boy who suffered near fatal abuse for years at the hands of his parents Wanda and Dorian Harper. He is now prosecuting them. The difference with the boy in this story is that this boy wants to see his parents rot in jail, whereas in the poem, Henry exhibits no feelings of hatred towards his father. He says his father is raging inside his 6'2" frame because he couldn't understand what was attacking him from within. By saying this, and with the knowledge of his past and his father's unemployment and depression, it can be inferred that the father also victim to the depression We almost feel empathetic towards Henry's father,